Hello, everyone. This is Stacy. Welcome to The Landing. Welcome back to The Landing. Throughout the month of January, as promised, I am pulling stories from the past that help anchor us to who we are and where we come from. Today's episode is a continuation of that promise. I am sharing two written pieces from years ago, words shaped by different seasons of life, but rooted in the same deep sense of place. The first comes from Trade Winds magazine in 2018, a publication that has long reflected the heart of our coastal communities. The second is from a post written in 2014 for chapelboro.com. These pieces were written years apart for different audiences, yet they speak to the same quiet truths about water, people, and the stories that hold us together. Reading them now feels like revisiting familiar ground with new eyes. So today, I am continuing my January journey, opening archives, honoring the words as they were written then, and sharing them with you now. Let's begin. These nets ain't gonna hang themselves. Down East's James Gordon Salter. This was reprinted and edited from Trade Winds magazine in 2018 by B. Garrity Blake. You can find James Gordon Salter on most days standing before a gill net in his father-in-law's shady yard across from the Straits United Methodist Church. One end of the net is attached to a trailer winch nailed to a pecan tree. "I'm too old to grab and pull by hand," said the 66-year-old on an overcast November afternoon. "Used to use a hammer handle, but a fisherman brought me that winch." Scattered in the yard were piles of gill nets, boxes of corks, leads, and lines. Leaves, sticks, and twigs, remnants of Hurricane Florence, were everywhere. Hurricane season put James Gordon more than 2,000 yards behind in his work. "I've been telling some of the fellas I'm making camouflage nets now, adding oat leaves and pecan limbs in so the fish can't see them," he joked. "See that little route where I walk and stomp down the grass? I came out here one day and there were whitecaps in it." James Gordon has hung net at the Strait site for only 1 year, but there was indeed a rut in the ground where he walks back and forth along the net line. Curtis Guthrie from Harker's Island said, "I have run a marathon, 6 inches at a time," he said, bending over to straighten the net while putting his hand over his breast pocket so his spare needles didn't fall out. A rope hung parallel to the cork line held a short length of PVC pipe that James Gordon slides along to help him space his ties. The pipe is marked in multicolored stripes in intervals that denote mesh sizes for flounder, spot, mullet, trout, and mackerel nets. "This is my scale," he explained. "It's what I hang the net by. This color is for 6-inch stretched marsh. That one is 5 3/8. The marsh size of the net determines what kind of fish you catch. The word mesh is often pronounced marsh or mash along coastal North Carolina." James Gordon put the finishing touches on his second net of the day. "I'm putting a headline in it. That goes from the cork line to the lead line so you can pick up your cork line and not tear your net up." He explained that he makes the top line, or cork line, as tight as possible so it doesn't stretch when pulled. You leave your bottom rope or lead line 30 inches longer than your cork line, so when you pull up your lead line, your cork line don't twist up. James Gordon surveyed his completed net and decided to start a third one. He picked up a bundle of pre-woven monofilament netting in pink. The netting, which was manufactured in Vietnam, also came in blue, green, and white. Some people say the pink catches better than the green. Some say the blue catches better or the white. Just different preferences, he explained. Net makers, too, have different preferences, right down to the types of knots they tie. I tie with a back hitch, James Gordon noted. I put 2 half hitches and then one behind it to lock it in so it don't slide so bad. Some people tie with 3 half hitches or a rolling hitch. Fewer and fewer people practice the art of hanging net. James Gordon called his work play because his customers are mostly family and friends. When a truck stops here or blows the horn, my heart stops, he said. I'm afraid someone's coming after me to do something. The net mender's work has changed with the times. He's branched out to assist some of the fishermen trying their hand in oyster aquaculture. I helped a fellow in Gloucester make oyster sacks. He showed me how. James Gordon said he's had many jobs, including at UNC Institute of Marine Sciences, the State Division of Marine Fisheries, and almost 30 years at Cherry Point. My daddy told me if I ever worked on a dredge boat or as a commercial fisherman, he was going to kill me. These days, he sticks mainly to his net mending and hanging. If it's got a tear, I repair it, he said. He even dreams about hanging net. Night before last, I hung net all night long. Woke up yesterday and my hands were swollen. His father, Lenny Salter, was a commercial fisherman. He taught James Gordon how to work with nets. When I was 7 or 8 years old, Daddy put me on an old wooden fish box in our yard and put me on one side of the line. James Gordon recalled. He was left-handed and I was right-handed. He told me to copy everything he did. Before the modern era of ready-to-hang, pre-woven monofilament mesh, fishing families wove their own nets out of cotton. A stand of net might be strung through the center of a house, attached on either side to a nail in the window sash. During the winter, James Gordon's father wove nets by the wood stove using a hand-carved cedar fid to help him gauge the mesh size. Daddy used that fid to measure half a marsh. When the fishing season began, net mending took place as part of the workday. We went to the Cape to set nets, and on the way back, we'd have to dip those nets in lime to keep them from rotting. Somebody would be on the back of the boat mending nets and patching holes, while time the other one drove the boat home. Most of the time, when we got home, the nets were pretty much mended. The shoreline along Harker's Island was once draped in white cotton nets that fishermen hung on wooden frames called net spreads. Net spreads were posts in the ground with a rack across the top about 3 foot high. We'd put the cotton nets across that and let the sun dry them so they wouldn't rot. Although nylon multi-filament nets made an appearance when James Gordon was a boy, it wasn't until the early 1970s that he saw his first monofilament net. I thought I had died and gone to heaven, he exclaimed. Monofilament would catch as good in the daytime as it did in the nighttime because the fish can't see the net. It disappears in the water. Although James Gordon has built himself a trawl net or two, he mainly worked on gill nets. The gill net, he maintained, is a selective gear that gets a bad rap. He bemoaned the fact that fishermen also get a bad rap in the public eye, while most seafood consumed in the United States is imported. If it's raised in a pond, it's not seafood, he declared. It's pond food. James Gordon's favorite seafood is fried hard crabs with brown gravy. Mama used to take a glass Pepsi bottle and roll it across the crabs to mash their backs a little, he exclaimed. Lightly fry them, take an onion and some flour to make a gravy, then put the crabs back on the gravy and let them stew. As fall turns into winter, James Gordon Salter will surely be standing between pecan trees, hanging net in preparation for the upcoming fishing season. Somebody asked me how I can be out here all the time doing this. Well, these nets ain't going to hang themselves. Documenting Down East's disappearing way of life. This was posted by D.G. Martin on February 19, 2014 on chapelboro.com. Down East in North Carolina does not mean what you think it means. Larry Early, former editor of Wildlife in North Carolina magazine and author of Looking for Longleaf, The Fall and Rise of an American Forest, moved to the community of Atlantic in 2006 to live 1 week a month while photographing the workboats of Core Sound. He learned from his neighbors that Down East North Carolina refers to the wet peninsula lying east of Beaufort in coastal Carteret County, with its broad skies, extravagant marshes, shallow sounds, and notched bays. Early complaints. Politicians, reporters, and TV announcers regularly use Down East as a synonym for eastern North Carolina in general. But for the people who actually live here, you're down east only after you take North Carolina 101 from Havelock or US 70 from Morehead City and Beaufort and cross the North River, period. The result of Early's time down east is the workboats of Core Sound, stories and photographs of a changing world. An extraordinary collection of writing and photographs of the working boats that watermen, mainly fishermen and shrimpers, have used for the past century in Core Sound. When gasoline and diesel engines replaced sails as the best power sources for watercraft, the boat builders down east adapted. Each small fishing community had its own master boat builder. Each crafted his boats a little differently, so coastal people could look at a Core Sound fishing boat and tell you where and by whom it was built. Early fell in love with the boats and the people who built and operated them. Though made of perishable wood, the old workboats of Core Sound are surely one of the glories of the Down East region. They are monuments to some of the best of all human impulses: to work hard, to wrest elegant designs out of stubborn materials, and to craft things of utility and beauty. They strengthen the web of community bonds that would inevitably weaken without them, and thus they preserve an essential part of Down East culture. They are the history keepers, the memory keepers in a region that is looking to the future. They are compass points for communities seeking a new direction. The new direction is not welcome. Fishing is fast disappearing from Down East. Danny Mason from the village of Sea Level explained, "I've been fishing most of my life. It seems like it's a dying process, but I'm trying to hold on. It's hard to find a crew, and the price of fuel is going sky high, and the things we sell, it seems, they don't go up much." James Paul Lewis of Davis said it more tersely, "It's all changed, and the fish business is history." Alton Chadwick in Marshallburg told Early, "You can't get nothing for what you catch no more. All the fish houses are closed now. Everything's gone. You got to go away from home now to get a job. I'm too old for that." In the little community of Atlantic, where Early stayed, Fulcher's Fish House was the economic backbone of the village, once employing 50 full-time and 50 more seasonal employees, and once processing millions of pounds of fish, crabs, and shrimp. It closed in 2007. The working boats that Early photographed are disappearing too, some the victim of old storms, and others just abandoned or dismantled. Times change. Early's photographs document and celebrate a way of life that is passing away. He admires those watermen and their boats even as their way of life disappears. In retrospect, what may be more significant about the changing economic life of Down East communities today is not that the fishermen are turning to other ways of making a living, but that so many have survived as fishermen for so long. Thank you for spending this time with me and for listening to these words from the past. Sharing written histories like these feels a bit like passing along a keepsake, something shaped by time, place, and lived experience. As this January series continues, my hope is that these stories spark your own memories, conversations, and reflections. Maybe they remind you of a place you love, a season you've lived, or a story worth holding on to and worth sharing. History doesn't always live in textbooks or museums. Sometimes it lives in magazines, old blog posts, handwritten notes, and the quiet words we almost forget we once wrote. Thank you for being here at the landing, for caring about where we come from, and for helping keep these stories alive. Until next time, take care, and I'll see you back here soon. Thank you again for joining us to The Landing. This podcast is brought to you by the Core Sound Waterfowl Museum and Heritage Center. I am your host, Stacy Davis Baisden, and today's podcast was produced by April Davidson. Tune in next week as we continue learning, sharing, and remembering together. If you'd like to hear more, check out our previous episodes where you get your podcasts. Until then, stay safe and be kind.